Coming up on today's wrestling news, Tony Khan has a private meeting with Shane McMahon.
WWE responds to the meeting. Shane McMahon responds to the meeting.
Joe Hendry is training at the WWE Performance Center full time.
And the Nick Nemeth TNA title win was not planned.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news. Anything you've seen recently you want to talk about on social media?
No interesting pictures kicking around.
We obviously have to start with the big story that broke just after we left work, pretty much like yesterday. So apologies for the delay on that one. The candid photo, don't take the picture, of Tony Khan meeting with Shane McMahon, a day we thought would never come. Yeah. And now the world has exploded, basically. So it was Wrestle Talk and Fightful who came through with this report about the private meeting that they had earlier on this week. Apparently it took place at a private Arlington airport on Monday, the 29th of July. The photo is here somewhere. I mean, how have you been on the internet and not seen it, to be perfectly honest? Yeah. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful confirmed with sources that a meeting did take place to discuss, quote, possibilities moving forward. Sapp also noted that Khan has been open to talking to McMahon for a while, but while it's been believed that they never met or even spoken, and then the rumours, remember a while back we were talking about Shane, this rumour came out that he was going to AEW. Yeah. That was almost the catalyst for them to have a meeting because they were spotted at a similar airport or something.
He bumped into Mercedes-Money.
That was it.
Bumped into, we don't know, but yeah.
And just because they had a chat as former colleagues, people went, well, that's it. Shane McMahon's all elite. Apparently Khan is said to have been very open to using Shane McMahon for several weeks now. He's also made it clear that he's open to the idea of talking to McMahon when people have brought up to the topic to him backstage. You've got the sort of second half to this story.
Yeah, it is.
Do you want to deal with that and then we'll deal with our thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's a developing one, this, isn't it, I guess? So obviously the picture goes out, there's all this news, there's all this speculation of exactly how the picture gets out. So then you start getting words from the more official channels in the story. Shane McMahon, via Bully Ray on Busted Open Radio. So again, like if you want to do the maths on the pipelines to these things, it makes more sense than it might first sound when you say Bully Ray. Shane McMahon was able to pass comment to say, quote, Tony and I were connected through a mutual friend and we had a great meeting. We talked about many things, but mostly about our shared love of the business and the rewards and challenges of working with family. I congratulated him on the 5-year anniversary of AEW and I look forward to how he evolves the business moving forward.
What message did your dad send you on your birthday?
We then got, speaking of, a message from inside WWE from WrestleVotes. This was a WrestleVotes source, like very, very reliable scoop account at WrestleVotes on Twitter. Quote, asked a long-time WWE employee friendly with Shane for his thoughts on the Tony Khan picture. The response, Shane's as smart as they come. Taking a preliminary meeting doesn't surprise anybody here. So yeah, to your point, the fact that idiots on the internet like us were talking about a few weeks ago suggests that, higher up within WWE would have been even more aware and probably even more in advance. Let's talk conspiratorially about this, and I'm sure you all will in the comments below. There are prominent figures immediately upon seeing this picture coming out to say, better leak. We've seen it for a reason. Then there are other prominent figures, I'm being very careful not to name any names, but again, you can find these names saying, not a leak, that's inaccurate. Yeah. The picture has got out by mistake or whatever. Are we to 2024 through the looking glass now to think that anything is real anymore?
I never know.
Genuinely a shoot or a work or what, but the existence of this picture and for us to be able to talk about it and for media outlets like Wrestle Talks and Fightful Select to be able to just get it out there, nothing never feels an accident in wrestling, does it? Yeah,
for once I'm just glad it's something that doesn't, it's so sort of not blurry, but so clearly like someone on a camera phone just going click, that you're not like, well, that's AI of Tony Khan and Shane McMahon sat together, for example. I'm still it's still sinking in. It's sort of I have to keep going back to and looking at going, so that's happened. That's definitely happened. Nothing may come of it, but it's definitely happened. They've sat in a room together. They've talked about their times in the ECW arena. They've talked about, family and the business. They may well have talked about Shane McMahon legitimately becoming all elite, which is hilarious when you think about it.
I would. There's a lot of talk, obviously, with it being Shane McMahon about the matches or the physicality or whatever. I get it, and I'm into it. I'm actually less fussed. I just want to look at this. This echoes to me a lot of the feeling that I got when Eric Bischoff turned off on Raw in 2002. It is less about, at this point, what Shane can or WrestleMania 39 can't do in the ring. It's more about looking at it.
Last time we saw him, wasn't it? Yeah.
Indeed. It's more about looking at it. It's like, well, AEW's been around long enough. We've seen the massive change within pro wrestling, and all of a sudden, a McMahon is on AEW television. Like that years ago, and that today is unthinkable, and yet we are the closest we have come to that. There will be a lot of people, maybe within our comment sections, or I've seen it online, that believe that there's some sort of like a sanctity of AEW issue at play here, and about what that reflects about the changes within AEW to even welcome this idea, you know. But I think maybe I'm just like less sentimental because I've seen it all go through the cycle once before. But I've always been about the moves, about the changes, whether it was Cody going that way, you know, whether it was like the raft of WWE guys that were finally going the other way. This is probably one of the more extreme examples of that.
I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon in AEW. Who does he...
Oh, yeah.
Stupid question, that really, isn't it? We've got this box for a reason. We spent... No expense been spent on this box.
Can I have two?
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, you do two, I'll do two,
yeah.
and we'll pick our favourite. We can reveal that Shane McMahon is going to be joining AEW, and at All In, you're going to be facing one of these four people.
You could pick 100 names out of that box, and I've got the two winners.
Okay.
So I'll let you go first.
I think I've got a contender.
All right then.
All of these options are amazing.
4 matches then.
Okay.
Shane's going to do a 4-match run.
It's
going to go you, then me,
yeah.
and you.
Yeah, it's either going to be Riho.
Unbelievable. You know why he's working Riho?
Why?
Because he wants to get up in the rankings, go to Ring of Honor and challenge Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's title, which he will lose. And he will get his ass kicked, but it's going to rule.
Yeah, but also you could, you know, add a bit of, as if it needs it, add a bit of spice to the AEW Women's World Title match at All In, because it's Toni Storm, the other name that I've got.
Well, she's going to kick his ass too, and when there's absolutely nobody left to kick his ass, he does the Sting thing and he retires, not by tagging with, but by taking on Darby Allin. So there you go. Athena, Riho, Toni Storm and Darby Allin are Shane McMahon's confirmed opponents for his AEW.
As if you need any encouragement. But let us know your thoughts on this story, and let us know who you'd like to see Shane McMahon face in the comment section below, if he is going to be at All In.
Well, now, it's funny that they met in an Arlington airport, didn't they?
Yes.
I wonder if they will have a second meeting in Heathrow Airport, because, of course, all of AEW will be coming over.
Come on over, baby.
To London for All In 2024. If you're Shane McMahon, you probably want to take the CM Punk route to the building and just get off the plane, see that there's no vehicular assistance, and just get straight on the tube, straight to Wembley, yeah? And on show day, probably at 5 to 3.
Yeah. Well, actually, now you say that, I can exclusively reveal Shane McMahon may be an attendant at our live show that goes down 12 p.m. the day of All In. Can't subject to change. That covers everything legally, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're doing a live show the day of All In. Whatculture.com/tickets. Don't mess about. They are going fast. You can also buy t-shirts with our faces on and stacks. And brilliant foam fingers, green and red, up, down fingers that we want to see Wembley, as you said, awash with. But yeah, whatculture.com/tickets. We're going to do a live show, then we're going to have like an extended meet and greet, and then we got ourselves a convoy, and she's beautiful. So we'll all wander over. Oh, I say wander over. We'll take about 3 steps probably, because the Crystal Club is right next to Wembo.
That's amazing.
And then after All In, after Shane McMahon has made his surprise appearance,
Jumped off the arch,
cashed in, and beaten Swerve Strickland for the world title.
What you got? I just brought this briefcase.
Still counts on it. It's a briefcase and it's just full of loads of money.
Here goes the money in the bank.
After Shane McMahon has won the world title, you probably want to go and celebrate, right?
Yeah, I would say that'd be me.
What he needs to do is head back to Crystal Club. But just walk backwards, follow your footsteps in the sand, right? It's not sand, I don't know. And come to Sweet Chin Disco, because some of his
new colleagues
are going to be there. Me, Max Caster and Prince Nana, Sweet Chin Disco, all night long after All In. It's going to be an awesome day and an awesome night. Do join us for that one.
Cannot wait.
Right.
Any more news in wrestling? Anything going on?
Say his name and he appears. I believe Joe Hendry is training full-time at the WWE Performance Center.
That's how the song goes, isn't it?
Doesn't work quite as well. I don't think that one's going to hit the charts quite as much.
I believe in the PC. There you go.
This comes from Joe Hendry, who's speaking to Matt Camp on the Wrestling Mat, which is a great podcast. It's one of the best ones out there. It's not ours, obviously.
I'm enjoying Matt Camp, by the way. Just want to shout out Matt Camp. I listened to a couple of interviews with him. There is a man that was working there at a very weird time.
Yeah.
He's got some stories that we haven't yet heard from a very unique, terrible era.
I'm astonished at the people who have that, who can hold back and not just say, one big podcast where I tell you everything.
Yeah, he's an interesting fellow, Matt Camp.
But then again, I suppose if you work there for that period of time, you'll have mentally blocked out some things and gone, oh, I've just remembered another thing happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, Joe said, I'm in a situation where we're having historic collaboration between TNA Wrestling and WWE. I can appear on TNA Wrestling as a contracted talent. I can appear on NXT, and I can train at the Performance Center full-time and do indies and signings. This is unprecedented. It's never been done before in the business. Thank you to TNA and WWE for figuring it out. Continuing his conversation about the PC and his training, he said, I have no ego when it comes to getting better. I can sort of attest to that. He is someone, I mean, I've watched him. He came here, we filmed some stuff when he was here, and Shreddy came in and he was chatting to him. And he was just, so open about the journey to where because he's worked so bloody hard to get where he is. So fair play to him.
It's not an overnight success. Overnight success stories rarely are.
Yeah, you can watch him in that Shreddy thing on his brilliant food fight thing on TNA's channel. That's why I'm training at the Performance Center anyway, Joe Hendry says. I'm never just going to rest on the skills that I've got. I'm always trying to build to something more. I'm very grateful to TNA Wrestling for giving me the opportunity to do that. I think I'm collaborating really well with management. I think we're putting ourselves in a position to do historic business for TNA. Can't really deny that, can you? I mean, by this time next week, you could have the WWE NXT tag team titles as a part of a TNA stable that are going to defend it on TNA.
Like, it looks increasingly likely that will be the lay of the land. This is not the first time Joe Hendry's made this point about how much leeway is given by TNAs.
Yeah.
Seems to be at pains to put TNA over as his current employer, it's wrestling, but his current employer, while being able to do all this WWE stuff. And I wonder if that's kind of part of the deal, really. Like, he's brought them exposure just in the same way they're allowing him to go and get that exposure, and it can be a symbiotic thing between performer and promoter that you don't always get. Like, this is a bit of power to the wrestler, but in that way where if you are trusted, you will return that trust with love of your own.
Or, like, because of what happened at Slammiversary, they said, if you don't put TNA over, every week on TNA television, we're going to have Josh Alexander kick you in the cock.
Well, indeed. That is a very nice segue, by the way, speaking of Josh Alexander and kicking in the cock, and Joe Hendry, to Nick Nemeth, the current TNA World Champion. I guess from an outsider point of view, if you're watching, or you're not watching TNA, but you see that Dolph Ziggler, aka sort of Nick Nemeth, has come in to TNA, you think, well, why not strap him as a top guy? But
sort of a history of TNA, they used to do that a lot.
It's kind of what's Nick Nemeth doing here in the Impact Zone? It wasn't the case, apparently. Fight for Select have come through quite an interesting one at this. It wasn't always the plan for Nick Nemeth to win the title, as he did at TNA Slammiversary in the multi-man match that included Joe Hendry.
And Moose, the champion.
He was the first one eliminated, which meant that you're going to have
And Joe Hendry pinned him, didn't he?
He did, yeah. The report does mention some expected Joe Hendry to emerge as world champion, considering the buzz that he's received, but that wasn't the plan either.
Okay.
Fight for Select have learned that as of May, the original plan was Josh Alexander emerging as world champion upon his heel turn. We haven't learned why things changed, but it was hinted to Fightful that it was because they felt Josh Alexander and Joe Hendry could continue to feud on their own. Of course, Alexander eliminated Hendry for the big heat of it all.
Damn you, Alexander!
And then, like, an interesting note to add that's added at the bottom of the story, we were told Hendry was added to the match to reflect his popularity. So that, again, is TNA kind of identifying, trying to keep their finger on the pulse before, like, obviously Hendry just explodes into an entirely different stratosphere. So yeah, all very interesting. There was rumours circulating that were never confirmed by anybody, just Twitter conversation, that there was going to be an announcement of Bound for Glory in the UK. That hasn't come to pass yet. Doesn't mean that it won't. TNA did a UK tour, a very successful UK tour last year.
Went to the Newcastle show, it was great.
Well, and Hendry winning a title on a show like that feels like a smart call.
Almost as good as the time he beat Simon Miller.
Well, indeed. I mean, almost. Not much can top that.
It was class, that, by the way.
But yeah, Nick Nemeth getting the title now. It's kind of a nice situation for TNA to be in. You identify that, these people that are over enough to win it can actually wrestle each other. And, but who are we left with? Just one of the biggest, most recognisable stars we've got on the roster. So I guess that situation is ever changing, but Nick Nemeth won't complain.
But you were right, they are spoilt for choice. Like, no one was clamouring necessarily to Moose to drop the title.
Yeah.
But then, you looked at the rest of the people in that match, like you say, your Joe Hendry, your Josh Alexanders, and of course your Nick Nemeth, and you're like, I don't really mind who takes it after that. Like, I think that they are. They've got obviously Matt Hardy's. That I know some people aren't huge fans of his, but they've got the Hardys there now.
I always like a name or two to,
Yeah, and just the talent we've been lucky enough to see showcased on NXT. Like I've fallen in love with Trey Miguel, for example. I think they've got such real talent that are developing there. Mike Bailey, of course. Yep. I always have to put him over because I think he's excellent.
Who,
so
of course,
great time here for TNA.
He defeated Mustafa Ali at
yeah. Really, really good time for that roster.
Not short of names, no.
Exactly. And I believe, I don't know if this is even possible, so apologies to our editor if I've screwed this up. I believe we've just published a video about why Joe Hendry is changing this business.
Oh, great, yeah.
Which you can watch right here. We'll be back with the after news later on today. Bye!